Welcome to Scorched and a general reading for the sign of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of July. I hope you're well. I'm using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. Very interesting thing when I started the meditation before I did your reading to connect with your energy. My third eye activated so fucking hard it felt like it was trying to crawl off my head. Look at me dropping F-bombs in the first 30 seconds of a video. That's not good, but it was profound. It was a really, really intense sensation, and I do feel like this month is going to be one of continual revelations for you, Sagittarius. Right? Very spiritual. There's something shifting in you quite hard, is how it feels to me. Anyway, let's get 3 cards for Sagittarius. There's the first one. We have the 3 of Swords. I felt this. I knew it was there, but I'm not concerned about it, and I shall tell you for why in a second. This current energy. We have the 5 of Pentacles. And, ooh, whatever that was, the Hanged Man. Fucking perfect. I can't tell you how perfect that is, Sag, and how it aligns absolutely beautifully with what I felt in the meditation. Right? It's absolutely spot on. Yeah, I knew you were coming out as well. I don't think I've ever used the Night Sun Tarot for you before, Sag, but yeah, it's coming out. So I'm going to pull some clarifiers, and I'm going to tell you why this is absolutely exquisite as a reading, even though it doesn't look like it should be. Tell me about the 3 of Swords, please. Thank you. We have the 9 of Pentacles and the 9 of Cups. Beautiful. Tell me about the 5 of Pentacles, please. Ace of Pentacles. And the Devil. Yep. Tell me about the Hangman, please. Oh, fuck, I'm not alive. 3 of Pentacles. Queen of Swords. Right. We have the 3 of Wands at the bottom of the deck, and I'm not surprised to see this too, Serge, because it's been coming out a lot for all of the signs. And for the last few weeks, I have seen it to indicate changed behaviour. Right? In so much as this is not you going, oh, I've been a bit naughty, I'm going to be good now. It's not that kind of thing. The process that is being undergone here is a highly personal one. Right? I don't think it's any mistake that Sag ended up being last. Like if you know anything about the way that I choose which sign I read for next. You know, it's using these coins here. I don't know if the camera will focus on it, but it's got a centaur with a bow and arrow on it. Usually the sign that's got the most going on is the one that ends up coming up last, and so for the last set of readings it was Leo, and I knew it was going to be Leo, and it was, and I was like and I've had this feeling about Sagittarius also. You know, I have a number of Sagittarians in my life, and you know, I've seen what's going on with them. When I say changed behaviour, oh fucking hell. I mean the way that you are choosing to live your life consciously now is shifting, it's changing. Underneath there we have the Knight of Pentacles, and we can't ignore the fact that this Virgo energy has been somewhat stalking your heels for some time. I know that there were a lot of Sagittarians who were in relationships with Virgos that fell by the wayside towards the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. And I like the fact that the Knight of Pentacles is actually moving in the opposite direction to the 3 of Wands. Like, it's like the relevance of this connection is almost done now, Sag. Like, you understand what was the point of the connection, and as you've understood it, so its hold over you has been waning, it's been moving away. The card underneath that is Death. What we've got here is a wholesale transformation of you and the way that you show up, right? For yourself And that's the important thing that I want you to take away from this. It's not about your interactions with other people, although obviously there will be some benefit in that for other people. This is so highly personal. It feels like I said right at the beginning, a really spiritual month for you, of you finding yourself. And let's start with your recent past, because it's the Three of Swords. Now, I said, don't worry about this, because I'm not worrying about this. The Three of Swords here for you is your pain. Now, Sagittarians are spectacularly good at compartmentalizing, right? Not thinking about that, I'm going to do something else. We have talked about this at length. Let me shut this fucking right. We've talked about this at length for a year, maybe more, right? Very good at pushing it to the side. It's not to say that it doesn't sting you. It's not to say that it doesn't find ways of coming out in your day-to-day existence. But you try not to think about it too consciously. I think part of what is shifting in you is the acknowledgement that you are a wounded creature, right? Or you have been, at least, right? There is true pain in your life that up until relatively recently you weren't comfortable in turning around and having a look at. But that's changed. And for whatever reason it's changed, who knows, you know, certainly everything, the way that it's unfolded for you in the last year, it's like every step has been a logical progression all the way along the line. So, you know, you kind of barreled out of, you know, whatever very restrictive environment you were in. I mean, let's not forget, even if, you know, you weren't dealing with a Virgo, that Virgoan energy of the Knight of Pentacles is somewhat at odds with the way that Sagittarians like to live, right? It's quite restrictive, it's highly critical, it's not free, it's not liberated, right? And this could have been by way of a relationship that you had with someone else, or it could have just been energetic, right? The situations that you found yourself in, however it applies, you came away from that situation and there was relief. There was palpable relief, and you galloped off at a rate of knots, but not entirely. I don't fucking believe it. The post is at the door. Stay there. Sorry about that. Right. Get my breath back. Where was I up to? Relief. Galloped off to a distance. But it wasn't quite as easy as you thought it would be, because your mind got involved, right? Sagittarians are notorious overthinkers. It's well, certainly notorious amongst Sagittarians. Anyway, I think it's something that's missed by the wider world, is this predisposition towards kind of hauling things over the coals inside your own mind over and over again. And while I don't think any of you second guessed the completely lost the word, whether or not it was right for you to move away from that situation, I think that you were all absolutely comfortable that you had made the right decision there. Your mind started throwing up other things, and you started questioning yourself, not about your decision, but about what kind of person you were, you know, and it was difficult. So you get so far and then you kind of find yourself coming back to it a little bit. You weren't quite as free of this person or this situation or this energy as you had hoped that you would be when you took that step and you moved away from it. There was something that was always pulling you back a little bit. And bit by bit, over the course of last year, there have been some really profound changes in you. I mean, to a degree, there was a lot of growing up that happened very, very fast for you, Sagittarius. And I've sensed an increasing level of a pattern that moved from surprise that you were capable of doing these, you know, adulty things that you weren't really that interested in before, to contentment that you actually could do these things the whole time. It was just other people told you couldn't do them, you know? And there wasn't really the draw to do it before. You know, I think a lot of you had very controlling people in your lives. So let's use the obvious example of money, right? If you were in a situation where you didn't have access to your own money because it had to go into something else, you know, may not apply to all of you, but it's the first example that comes into my head. And it's one that I think explains the situation well, right? So you don't ever have access to your own money, right? It just goes into a pot, you know, it's the family pot, you know, the household pot, whatever. And, you know, you work and work and work and you provide all of this money, but there was never anything for you in there. There was never anything that you wanted to spend your money on. The money was just not there. It was not available to you. At the same time, you've got this narrative coming back at you that you are shit with money. You don't know what to do with money. Like, you are lucky to have me because I know what to do with money, you know? And this narrative you've internalized over some time, if this applies to you, and you decide that you are shit with money. You don't know what you're doing, you know? You've never been given an opportunity to do it properly before because it was always taken away from you. And so as you come out into the world and you're having to do these things by yourself, at first there was a mild amount of terror associated with it, and then surprise when you did a thing and it worked and it was proper, you know. And over the course of the year, this kind of increasing surprise that you're actually managing your own budget and you're doing it pretty well. You're like, wow, you know, it's kind of challenging this internal narrative that you had been told was true about you. Now, that's just one example, but it's a very good descriptor for lots and lots of ways in which you have taken charge of your own life, such where you weren't able to do it before, right? Taking responsibility for things has actually proved to be more enjoyable for you than you had thought it was. And not only that, you've proven to be pretty fucking good at it, right? So there was all of this stuff sort of happening over the course of last year. But I do feel like you've taken your eye away from the practical things a little bit now, in so much as it's not as hard as you thought it was. It's nowhere near as hard as you thought it was. And so bit by bit, these narratives are getting stripped away. Ones that you believed wholeheartedly for a long time. And what's being left is an increasing desire to turn inward and examine who you are, what you're made of, how you got to where you were, and what lessons you've learned from these incredibly restrictive situations or relationships or whatever it is that you've been in, you know? It's kind of reaching that point where you are prepared to not only acknowledge that you have been wounded, not just once, but multiple times, and turning around and facing that, and then looking to see where it's come from. Like, we have talked at length about that Sagittarian zooming, you know, just zoom forwards all the time, because it stops you from having to turn around and look at what's trying to tap you on the shoulder. Now, instead of, you know, you zooming, you are now stopped, and there's no tapping on the shoulder necessary, because actually you've turned around with the full force of your Sagittarian determination and gone, you are dictating the parameters of my reality. And by you, I mean your subconscious. That's what's going on here. And the first part of that is acknowledging that there are wounds in there. There are things that require healing. Now, if you are going to heal those, you can't run away from them. And you're not running away from them anymore, Sagittarius. You're not. Now, the next clarifier here is the Nine of Pentacles. Notice that it has come up in the reverse. And this is very interesting because this is pointing to exactly what I was just talking about there. Like, you need me to do this for you. Like, this is what you have been told. Maybe you have been told that you are nothing without me. I am what makes this family great. I am what makes this relationship cool. I do all of the donkey work. I do all of the important things. What do you even do? And it's left you feeling very disempowered. It left you feeling like you weren't able to put your resources, well, not only that you weren't able to put your resources where you wanted to, whether that was time, care, money, effort, love, whatever, but also that it was inherently selfish of you, like there was something really bad about you for even wanting to do that. Now, as you've come out of this sort of this mindset, and you're crashing out of it, as far as I can see, Sagittarius, what you're doing is flipping this 9 of Pentacles energy into a 9 of Cups upright energy here. Now, both of the cards that are number 9, well, all of the cards that are number 9 are very much about the individual. They're very personal. It's very much about your progression, your growth, all of those kind of things. The situation that you were in before was not one that promoted growth, independence, self-sufficiency. It actually sought to take those things from you. And you see that now, right? It was a really, really important lesson for you there in that moment. And now what is happening is that the 9 of Cups, your own emotional well-being, is becoming more important. I mean, for some of you, it might just be as simple as like, you just don't give a shit about money. You want to be happy. And for the first time in your life, you're like actually chasing happiness rather than something else, rather than getting your head down and just getting on with the 3D world in front of you. There's a rebirth going on here for you, Sagittarius, and it is being undergone by your own hand, right? And a huge part of that is looking at your wounds, looking at what got you to where you are right now. Now, this is so this is such a 180-degree turn for you energetically that it's almost like, who the fuck are you, Sag? Like, who are you and what have you done with Sag? Like, because you're not running anymore. Your values have changed. Your understanding of your own well-being has changed. The understanding that you have emotions and you are sensitive and they deserve to be fucking honoured, not least by you. This has changed in you too. And so I'm not worried about this 3 of Swords, because I think this 3 of Swords is beautiful. I think this is great. This is you putting yourself on a path to healing. I would say it was well overdue, but I think that you had to be uncomfortable. I think that you really had to be pushed to a point of feeling like you were suffocating and not having any release before you finally said, enough is enough. I'm off. I'm going, right? Now, in your current energy, we have the 5 of Pentacles, and I actually really like this too, because this card talks about poverty. It talks about lack, and because it's a pentacle, it is money, possibly, but also time, care, effort, emotion, love, all of these things, right? It is a lack. Now, I don't think that you're experiencing this lack in the here and now. What I think you are doing is philosophizing on this lack. More importantly, the lack that is contained within your past. Oh, the lack of care, the lack of emotion, like, exhibited towards you. The lack of tenderness, the lack of interest in your sensitivities, Sagittarius. Maybe even the lack of effort on somebody else's part towards you. No? Now, whatever situation you were in, arse end of 2019, beginning of 2020, that was just the most recent iteration of a pattern that's been going on throughout your entire life. It is the one that felt like it was the straw that broke the camel's back, right? But we will repeat these patterns over and over again until we get to a point of such discomfort that we have to move away and we have to do something else, right? Had to make you uncomfortable, or else you wouldn't have moved, right? Or else you would have just kept zooming forwards more accurately for you. This is a philosophical contemplation of the ways in which your needs have not been met your entire life. Not just by other people, but by you, Sagittarius. And ultimately, we show the world how we want to be treated, right? We set the bar there. So the ways in which you have been trapped in the past, you have allowed yourself to be trapped, right? And there might have been quite a bit of mental gymnastics around that, but ultimately that's what it was. And that all stems from a lack of self-worth in you, right? Pure and simple. You don't know your own value, and you never have done. I think that you are starting to understand it now. I think that you're understanding it much better than you ever have done at any point in your life. Maybe if you've got a good memory, you can remember being 4 or 5 and just feeling powerful as fuck because you were 4 or 5, you know. And you could do things and you could zoom around and it was awesome, you know, just being a being of light, right? Shadows don't come fully formed with babies, right? You've ever spent any time around babies and very small children? They're just like big balls of light, just big balls of energy, and it goes off in 360 degrees of energy, and particularly with like baby fire signs, right? They just are right there. The shadow is created, the shadow is formed by your environment, by those people who are around you in your formative years. And what you've done is you've carried that shadow. You haven't even carried it now, Sag. I think it had got to the point where it was stopping you moving at all. You've been dragging this really heavy sack behind you for years, and what's going on here is you seeing it for the first time. And seeing it is the first step in releasing it and letting it go. And it starts with you, like I said. Underneath here we have the Ace of Pentacles and we have the Devil. And I'm kind of comfortable with that combination being there. The Ace of Pentacles feels very determined from you. I mean, Sagittarians are determined anyway, right? But you have your sights on a new start. Not just in the material, in the here and now, but an entirely different way of experiencing energy, almost. You know? If the Pentacles are energetic currency, then this here is pure fucking energy. And you can do with it anything that you fucking want. And you've got your sights set on something very, very new, very, very special, and very, very different to what you have experienced before. It's like you're bringing everything that you have to bear on it. Sag. This Devil is not bothering me either, because this Devil here with this 5 of Pentacles is about pulling out the roots of your fears. It's about pulling out the roots of the things that are limiting you and binding you. You know, these two characters here in the Devil card are always depicted as chained by the neck, but the chains are not tight. Often that's how they get to stay there for as long as they have, because, you know, they're not actually throttling them. They might be a little bit uncomfortable, but they're there. The point is they can't fucking move away from them, you know? Just as you've been dragging that shadow bag behind you for a long time, like, you see the chains. For you, the process that you seem to be undergoing at the moment is going, right, here's a fucking chain. Who put a fucking chain on the centaur? That's not happening. And ripping it off. It's about empowerment. It's about releasing your fears. It's about moving away from this energy of not meeting your own needs, right? And fucking taking off vertically into the stratosphere, because you can, because you are that powerful, and you want it. You want it more than anything else. What you have coming towards you in July is the Hanged Man. It's a card of sacrifice sometimes. It's a card of submission sometimes, and those things might be true, but not quite in the overt way that it would sound like it. There's nothing that you are releasing. There is nothing that you are letting go. There is nothing that you are submitting to or sacrificing that at this point represents a loss to you, Sagittarius. Anything that you feel like releasing this month, let it go, because I can feel your hooves drumming on the ground. Like I said, you're just going to take off vertically. The Hanged Man is an incredible card of wisdom. It's a card of a change of perspective. I mean, you look at these 3 cards in a line, and when I said, even before I pulled the clarifiers out, this is perfect, because you are changing your perspective on all of these things. No? You change your perspective by sitting with them, by seeing them for what they are, by processing them and releasing them. Maybe it is that you see the things that you've gone through now as a lesson. Now it is that you see that there is wisdom within the Sagittarian heart, within the Sagittarian soul, that you had not perceived before. Maybe you realize that you are Chiron, you are the wounded healer. And you have wisdom within you that not only should you be applying to yourself, and I do feel like that's coming at an increasing rate, but you can also give to others with. And there is something actually really quite giving about Sagittarians. Like I said, I get sick of seeing these fucking hatchet jobs done on signs where they don't take into account how it is that a sign got to where they are. And for you, it's abandonment, it's neglect. You know, it's a lack of validation. It's a lack of a nurturing home. It's a lack of any kind of attention to your sensitivities. And you are sensitive, Sag. And that's probably been one of the hardest things for you to accept about yourself, is that it is there. But it's not a flaw in you. It's something really quite beautiful and something that should be exalted within you. And like I said, I feel like that is happening for you this month. It feels like a spiritual awakening is occurring for you. And look at the baby in the middle of the 9 of Cups. You are being reborn, Sagittarius. I've got the 3 of Pentacles and the Queen of Swords, clarifying the Hanged Man. This dude in the 3 of Pentacles is pointing right at the Queen of Swords. It's Libra energy. And the Queen of Swords has many... There are 2 different ways of looking at this card, right? So the Queen of Swords has a great deal of amazing attributes. But as is depicted with the heart and the cage at the bottom of the card there, emotion is not something that she tangles with very often. In fact, she's not interested in it at all. She pushes it to the side and she makes decisions based on cold, hard facts and logic, you know. Now, it could well be that the way that every single one of your interactions from childhood and up has gone down has been with the heart in a cage, because that's what you have been shown. Right? You showing emotions, Sagittarius, is not okay. We don't want that. Put your heart in a cage and don't fucking refer to it again. And you're going, holy shit, my sensitivity is a flaw. And you might have even been fucking pre-verbal when you did that. Stick it in there. Right, not going to do that. The thing is, when you've got an absence of something, you tend to fill it with an excess of something else. And so then we come to the, you know, the Sagittarian trope of the sex and the drugs and the rock and roll, you know, the excitement, the adrenaline, the needing to go faster all the time. And the thing is, Sagittarius, maybe you didn't need to go faster. Maybe you just needed to slow down and feel your heart. I feel like that's what you're doing at the moment. The other way of looking at the Queen of Swords is that she can be your friend, because she is an incredibly discerning character, right? She's got a nose that can smell bullshit a mile off, and that nose, Sagittarius, is one that you are applying to your internal space, and you're kind of looking at it, you go like, how much of the shit that I am carrying around is actually bullshit? How much of this is actually true? How much of these ideas that I have about my own identity have been put there by other people who, for whatever reason, were threatened by how fucking awesome I was, right? Because that's what it comes down to ultimately. When people are projecting and shit, you know, you're threatening them. There's something about your confidence, there's something about the way that you carry yourself, something about maybe even the way that you are able to manifest things for yourself that other people feel threatened by. Other people, you know, they either want to crush in you or they want to take for themselves. And you being able to apply that discernment to your own internal space is going to help you clear out a lot of things this month, Sag. You're a pretty powerful character as it is, but imagine how powerful you could be when all of these layers of crap are finally moved out of the way and you can just experience yourself as the pure fire that you are. I think you're hungry for it now, actually. I think it's coming. I really do. So, I'm going to go over to Vimeo now and pull this apart a little bit and see what's going on in July. But, you know, a TLDR on this one is pretty huge spiritual awakening for you, Sag, and I think it's magnificent. So, if you want to join me over at Vimeo, links down in the description box. If not, that's all cool. You're going to have a lot in your head this month, but it's all for the good. Right? And I don't feel any sense of discomfort about any of it at all. I feel you engaging with it hugely, bigly engagement with it, right? So, anyway, know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.